Hello folks and welcome back to the channel. Now today we are taking a look at a tool called FSiPanel, which is designed to help improve your landings. Now this has become particularly relevant to me recently since upgrading to the Fenix Airbus A320. I found that after doing so many flights in the fly-by-wire A32NX, the Fenix felt really different by comparison, and I was struggling to land it a lot. It was kind of compounded by the fact that all of my flying was kind of done live on stream, so I would be flying for hours, maybe doing 2, 3, 4 hour full flights, and then only getting one landing out of it. So actually I wasn't having many opportunities to practice the landings. Of course, you spend most of the flight in autopilot anyway. So I decided to put in some practice off stream, but the trouble is these study level airliners are very complex, so it's kind of hard to get them configured for a landing. The only really decent way to do it is to configure the plane almost for a very short flight, where maybe you take off and do a quick loop at the airfield and come back in and land, but you kind of got to go through that setup procedure to get the thing set up properly every time, which is a real pain. That's where FSiPanel comes into play. So here it is. It's detected we are at JFK on runway 31 left, and all that is left for us to do is select where we want to start our landing. Now, you can start on a downwind where you kind of come along the runway and do a bit of a U-turn onto final. You can do a vectored approach where you come in at a bit of an angle and then turn onto final. You can do a left-hand base, a right-hand base where you sort of come along and then make your turn in on final. The one I've been using a lot and I find really handy is the short final. So we click that and then it gives us an opportunity to configure how we want our flaps. I'll leave it on full. And then what we need to do is click Move Aircraft. Click that button and you'll notice that not an awful lot has happened. If I turn on the cam just so you can see, if I now bring the throttles up to the climb gates, back to idle, and now bring them back up to the climb gate again. You see now that FSiPanel is configuring our plane for landing. It's setting all the different settings that we need. It's setting our speed. It's doing all this stuff, all the stuff that we would normally have to do on the ground and then take off and fly the route again if you want to do another landing practice. It's a real pain. FSiPanel makes it easy. So let's just bring up FSiPanel one more time. You can see it here. You see the Move AC button has changed to working ... So that means that it is going through the plane, configuring all the bits and pieces. When it gets us in a state when we're ready to land, this button will change back to Move AC, Move Aircraft. Now, one thing I will say is that when I first installed the software, it used to come up with a popover window on the sim to let me know when it was ready for me to take over. For whatever reason, it stopped doing that, and I'm not entirely sure why. It might be something I've done, I don't know. But it's no big deal. I can keep an eye on this button here working when it changes to Move AC. That's kind of when I know that it's my turn to take over. When it is time for me to take over, there you go. Look, it's just changed literally as we were talking. That's handy. So now I know the plane is ready. Now there's no mad panic for me to take over, because if you keep an eye, we're just going along straight, and now it's jumped back. And if we just leave it here, it's going to go along straight, and then you'll see it jump back in a moment. So it's just kind of doing a very quick sort of loop. And just so there's no mad panic for us to take over. So when you are ready to take over, all you need to do is hold the brakes for 3 seconds, and then you can take control of the aircraft. And you can see we've got our ILS markers all on the PFD. It's set local pressure. Everything's looking good, just as if we'd done it ourselves. And we can hold the brakes for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3.
Glide slow.
There we go. I have control.
Glide slow.
Obviously it's complaining about the glide slope because so we're just going to hold at level flight, get ourselves over to the right hand side a little bit, and now we're going to start putting our nose down. Now we've picked up the glide slope. And we can now do our landing, and I will catch up with you on the ground. Alright, so we've come in a little bit low on this one, but then again that is the point of this tool. It is so that you can figure out where you're going wrong and work hard to correct it.
100.
100.
50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 5.
Down you go. See, I floated that one for sure. There you go. That was really smooth, but that one was a floater, which is a perfect example of why FSiPanel is fantastic. Now, let's lose the cam. Let's bring ourselves to a halt with the rudder pedals here. And you can see there's a very handy landing report button. You bring that over so you can see it. There we go. So this gives you a really nice breakdown of what your landing was like. You see the landing distance, because we had such a floater there, was just within limits. We were 8.9 feet left of the center line, which is satisfactory. And we had a kiss landing at 11 feet per minute. That's because we had such a floater. And we had our bank at touchdown. So it gives you some really nice metrics. Obviously this landing was not my finest. But then that's the whole point of FSiPanel. It's so that you can make the mistakes and learn from it. I think there's this notion, some people, especially in the comments, I think just because of the fact that I have a YouTube channel, everyone expects my landings to be perfect, like I'm some kind of genius. I'm not at all. I'm very open about the fact that I am definitely learning all the time, and you know, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So tools like this to help us all get better are very, very important indeed. And what the nice thing about this is now is that if we want to have another go, it should be a case of parking brake off, bring the throttles up to the climb gate, and it sets us up again.
100. 50. 40, 30, 20, retard, 5.
There it is. That'll do. A little bit to the right of the centre line. That's the only thing I would fault with that one. And if you want to check out the landing report, there it is. So landing distance was considered good. Apparently we're on the centre line. I'm not really sure I agree fully with that. I felt like we were a little bit off. Nice landing, 216 feet per minute. So that was a good effort. So there you have it, folks. That is FSiPanel. Now, while my landings in this video were not necessarily ones for the Hall of Fame, I hope that it can actually serve as a reminder that, you know, not all your landings are going to be perfect, and the only way to improve them over time is to sort of train consistently. And I think for me that's what I've been missing, because I do a lot of live streams on the channel, which means we spend a lot of hours in the sim, but not many of those are actually kind of hands-on, because you've got autopilot on almost immediately soon after takeoff, and then you turn it off just as you come into land. So actually the time that you're flying the plane by hand is very, very minimal. So having a tool like this that can allow you to use these study level airliners and quickly repeat those landings to get the practice at them in various different conditions, all different runways and airports around the world, I think is so, so important. Obviously it works with the PMDG 737 as well, although I haven't featured that in this video. It's much of a muchness. There is an instruction manual that they give you, so you can kind of dive into all of that, but it's a very simple tool to use, and I've been getting an awful lot out of it. I'm still learning the Fenix. I mean, my goodness, it's a completely different animal to fly compared to the fly-by-wire, but I'm having a great time learning, and again, that's what it's all about. It's about the learning. The day that I can land these things like a robot time after time after time is probably the time that I decide to call it a day, because it wouldn't be fun anymore. So this is a really important part of keeping the sim fun, keeping it exciting, and improving your landings. And for me, it's money well spent. I'll put a link in the description. It is a paid-for app, and depending on which version you get, the price varies. But I'll pop a link in the description if it is of any interest to you. I just thought I'd share that app with you today because I found it really, really useful, especially since moving to the Fenix, but also it's great for landing the Boeings as well. Anyway, before I start rambling, I'm going to cut myself off and leave it there. All the YouTube stuff, as per usual, like, subscribe, hit the bell. We do a lot of live streams on the channel, so make sure you're subbed and ring the bell. That way you will get notified, hopefully, if YouTube does its magic whenever we go live, so you can join us for a live stream. We'd love to see you. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and as always, happy flying.